Hey everyone, Igor here. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be changing the handlebars on my low kicker from drop bars to flat bars. And we're going to be changing some of the derailleurs. We're going to be changing the shifters, changing a whole bunch of stuff. So let's dig in. So here all is what we're going to be putting on the bike. Number one is going to be this 50.4 crankset. And we're going to change the front derailleur to this 105 that I have sitting around. We can't reuse the sword front derailleur because this crankset has a wider chain line. So this all is going to have to go. Plus, it just doesn't match the vibes. And to go along with that, we have new bottom bracket. And then for the rear derailleur, we have this XTR. I don't remember where I pulled this off of. I think it was an old mountain bike that I had pulled it off of. And we're going to be putting on some bling bling jockey wheels. We have an 8-speed cassette. Down tube shifters, which we're going to mount on the handlebars. And we have these granola bars. The granola bars are my favorite flat bar. It's a great all-arounder, perfect for getting around town, dropping the kids off at school, going to the park, running errands, all sorts of stuff. Super comfortable. I really like them. They're not too narrow. They're not too wide. I think they're the pretty much Goldilocks of sort of upright bars. Now, before we can get into the fun stuff of putting everything on, we got to get all of this off. So let's get to it. Oh, I forgot to mention that in order to use the down tube shifters on the handlebars, you're going to have to use something like these. These are little thumbie mounts that we offer. And so this basically, that's not that one, it's this one. So basically it pulls cable, and since this is friction, the front derailleur doesn't really matter as long as it has a correct chain line, which we don't have in this case. This is why I have this other derailleur. So this one is friction, so it just pulls cable. And then the right one is indexed. And because all of the road and mountain stuff from this arrow works together in index mode, we can use it no problem. All right, bottom bracket going in, grease up your threads, and do the same on the other side. This is French. Well, one thing you got to keep in mind when you use your parts bin is read it, what it says, because that was a French threaded bottom bracket, which is not going to fit in an English threaded shell. All right, problem solved. I found an English threaded bottom bracket, which, wouldn't you know it, fits perfectly. And tighten down the other side as well. Grease your tapers, or don't. It's probably the most divisive thing you'll see on this channel. I always grease my threads, and it's always worked out for me. 8mm for the crank bolt. You notice that all of the stuff that I'm using here is used. Nothing has come out of stock. So make sure you use that parts bin. Don't just let it sit. And also, never throw anything away. You never know when you're going to need it. Same thing for the non-drive side. Look at that magnificent artwork. Crankcaps. I'm going with the offering from Blue Lug. They're brass. Our cranksets do come with self-extracting crankcaps and bolts, but I like the brass because I think it gives a nice flare, and they'll patina over time, which looks cool. Should put some grease on them and tighten them up. Now, before we can install these things, we really need to give them a good scrub down. They're super dirty. The jockey wheels are gross. Look at that. Good as new. So before we can put the derailleur on, we're going to go ahead and swap the jockey wheels. These are still perfectly good. They're just kind of dirty, but I like the way these look. And this is my bike, and I want it to look cool. So I'm going to swap these over. Plus, these have a sealed bearing, and so they spin really nicely. So we're going to take out this bolt. It's a 3mm. Take out this one. And then this one from the other side. Keep this one upper. And this one is the lower. I think they're identical, but it's a good habit to get into anyway, so you don't lose the position of the hardware. These will go into part spin. Let's clean these up. Carpet fiber towel. Okay, looks good. So in the package, here's what you get. You get the jockey wheels and this little tree of different sized bushings. So basically what you're going to want to do is take your bolt and just kind of put them in different ones to see exactly which ones you're going to be using. They're slightly different sizes for different bushings. So that's way too big. That's pretty good. Some of these are too big. That's too small. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be using this one. Let's make sure here. Should be not too loose, not too tight. So that one feels pretty good. That one feels pretty good. That one feels pretty good. We're going to be using these. 2 for each wheel. So let's start assembling the cages again. So you're going to be putting it like this. So I'm going to be putting bushing here. Another bushing on the other side. Squeeze them together. And the same thing for this one. Perfect. So, perfect fit. Make sure everything still fits together well. Perfect. Should slide in with not too much resistance. A little bit of grease on the bolts. And same thing for the lower. Just like that, fresh jockey wheels. Look at that. Ooh-wee. Front derailleur going on. And for now, we're just going to estimate where it's going to be. We'll get it dialed in when we get the chain on. Rear derailleur going on. Put a little bit of grease on the threads. Looks great. I got so far ahead of myself. I forgot that we're going 8-speed. This is a 10-speed cassette, so I have to take the wheel off and swap the cassette. This here is a trailer hitch. I loosened it a little bit. And 5mm for the through axle. And then the wheel should come right out. Cassette tool, chain whip. Where's my big wrench? Here's my big wrench. The big wrench. Don't lose it. And then what I like to do is zip tie the cassette back together. Just like that. Now you're not going to lose any pieces. 8-speed cassette going on. Match up the splines. Big spline goes with big spline. And then this one, I think we're going to need a spacer. Now that I think about it. Yeah, we're definitely going to need a spacer. So this is kind of flush with the end of the freehub body. So we need a spacer to just lift it up just a little bit so that it all fits snugly. All right, let's try that again. So, thin spacer. Okay. Cassette. Cassette. Little smear of grease. Then we're going to make it, torque it down to good and tight. All right. We're going to reinstall the wheel. And now is a good opportunity to clean and re-grease your through axle before you reinstall it. Then I'll adjust the actual position of the trailer hitch when it's on the ground. But I think it's going to be something like this. Okay. We're going to put the brakes on. They are missing right now because we took them for another project, and now we're putting brakes back on. This gold color is pretty cool. These are the Grotech Equals. These are pretty much our go-tos for cable actuated disc brakes. Super powerful, really easy to set up. I'm going to get them snug just so that they can move around a little bit so we can do a quick adjustment. Quick adjustment here. I just grabbed the lever arm and give it a good squeeze. And I'm going to tighten these guys down. Sorry if my hands are in the way. It's pretty decent first setup. Chain going on. All right, let's see. How much are we taking? Sometimes I just use some pliers and set them like this. That's it. Perfect. Right, now we got to get rid of this. Just going to loosen the stem, faceplate, bolts. I'm going to reuse the stem first. I'm going to try it out with this first. I'll probably need to go something a little bit longer. Typically, when you're going from drops to flat bars, you want the stem to be a little bit longer since you're going to be coming back. So we'll try this first so I don't have to dig around for another stem. With flat bars, it's a lot easier to change stems than it is with drop bars. Drop bars, the housing has to be a very specific length. Boop. Granola bars going on. One thing you want to keep in mind is with our stems and many other stems is that you want the gap between the top and the bottom parts of the faceplate to be equal. So once you have it centered, tighten it down a little bit, tighten down the top, tighten down the bottom. until they are even. You can kind of just do it with your fingers. You can kind of get a good gauge of how tight things need to be. And then the same on the other side. Do the final tightening in a star pattern. Okay, so to assemble this shifter onto the flat bar, you're going to need a few pieces. So you're going to need the thummy mount, like this. You're going to need the shifter, obviously. You're going to need, this is a keyed washer. Now, what comes in the package is a curved one, like this. And you're going to be mating them like this. But obviously it's a curved washer on a flat plane. That's not going to work. So you have to buy the flat one so that it works. You're going to need this. This is basically the, I don't know what this is called exactly, but it's a barrel that sits underneath and goes through like that, and then everything gets cinched down to it. And you're going to need these. Two of these. These are reducers. These are shims that reduce this size from 23.8 to 22.2. So first thing, let's get the flat washer on. And this is the right side. So you notice that this has a little key on it right there. So I like to put the key right here so that when you put the actual shifter on, this is your highest gear right here. That's your highest gear. So this is like the hardest gear. So then we're going to pass this bolt through. Okay. And then you're going to take the screw, a little bit of grease on it, and just a flathead, and tighten it down. And now you have yourself an 8-speed shifter. Look at that. Nice and clicky. All right, brake levers going on. These are the Tektro FL750. Nice classic shape. Kind of want to do something a little bit more classy than my usual Grand Cruise. I like the way this blade is nice and minimal. Pretty lightweight. So I think this could look really nice. And now the shifter. The shims are on. There we go. It's going to kind of sit over top, sort of something like this. We'll do the final adjustments once we have everything on, and we can move things around to see how it feels. And copy and paste on either side. Time to do the brakes. So first thing, we're going to take off these little clips. We're going to be putting these back on later. Let go. There we go. Now, one thing you need to know about these Tektro levers is that rather than using a mountain barrel, it uses a road style. Why? To be honest, I have never been able to get a solid answer out of Tektro. This is what they use. Ferrule onto the housing. Put that all the way through. It's going to come out the other side. All right. There we go. Housing in. This actually goes on the back side. Just got to figure out how to put it on. There we go. It's going to go like that. Push it through. Took a little bit of wrestling, but this is what it looks like once it's on. So the clip is on the back side. Pinch bolt for the brakes. Okay. Nice. Feels good. Okay, the fun part. So we're going to be putting these grips on. There's a couple ways you can put the grips on. This is how I like to do it. It makes them stick. It only takes like maybe a couple hours for them to really start sticking, but rubbing alcohol, just pour them right in. Just give it a little swish around. Put on the bars. And then just muscle it on. And there you have it. Grip on. Next thing we're going to do is put on these absolutely beautiful bar ends, bar plugs. into the handlebars. So these are made of brass. They're Musa, and they are just so nice looking. And the really cool thing is that the way that this is designed, this is like a conical shape, and this is a little bit smaller. These actually work with both 22 with a lot of 22.2 handlebars as well as 23.8. So let's go ahead and wait a second. I can't put those in. Aha! I have an idea. Meet my old friend Hammer. So what you're going to do is just tap around this until a hole forms by the bar end, by the end of the handlebar. So you can kind of see a circle is already forming on the end of the bar. There you go. Look at that. Perfect circle. 3mm for the bar end. That is one handsome bar end. And copy and paste on the other side. So the rear derailleur, the high limit screw is a little bit off. So let's adjust that. There we go. That looks pretty good. And let's check out the high limit screw. Or the low limit screw, rather. Let's give it a little bit right there. Perfect. Now I'm actually going to be able to reuse the housing, but I will need new cables. So put the cable in here, and then it goes through the hole, pull it through. Cable goes in the housing. Sure it's in place. Down and around the bottom bracket shell. And into the housing. So the cable tension is a little low, so we need to increase it. And one way to do it is to turn this knob, but that is for very fine-tuned adjustments. It's not a magic knob. So we're going to pull some more cable through, and hopefully that will give us the cable tension we need. That is much better. Let's test it out. Now we just need a cable crimp. OEM Shimano cable crimp. So these front derailleurs are a little bit different than a traditional one. So you're going to pull it through here, and then this, as you tighten it, is going to rotate. And then you use this little 2mm to adjust the final tension. And you can see this is going to start rotating, pulling the cable. See that? And to bring the tension up a little bit, you can also use the down tube adjuster. And then you just use, this is the low limit adjustment, and this is the high limit adjustment. Just needed a little bit of a tweak to get it just right, but it's really easy to adjust. So let's go ahead and clip some of these cables. The derailleur comes with this little cap. Basically, the cable passes through, and then you clip it, and then you put the cable end onto it. I might have made it a little short. That's okay. It'll all be okay. Just don't tell anyone. Still works. Well, my audio died right here, but basically what I'm explaining is that I put the brake lever and the shifter in the wrong position, so I need to put the brake lever in front of the shifter and move the shifter over there. And luckily the shifter mount is hinged, so I don't have to undo the grip. So it's pretty easy to change that. And the piece de resistance are brand new valve caps featuring Juicy Juice box and a beautiful orange. So everything is buttoned up. So all that's left is to take it for a spin.